So Storm Chasers Boldy and Chief David-Reimer. We have a tornado warning now for portions of Van Zandt County. Hey, look. Hi. No, how about we focus on me, webcam? Thank you. It's going to be a tornado warning for Van Zandt County. This does include the city of Canton and Van, along with Interstate 20 from mile markers 518 to 542. This tornado warning runs through 6:15 p.m. for central and eastern Van Zandt County. So with that, we now begin our severe weather coverage for this Wednesday afternoon. We're dealing with two supercellular thunderstorms right now of concern. The first supercell is over Ellis County, approaching the city of Waxahachie. That storm has a history of producing ping pong ball sized hail in Midlothian, across portions of southern Ovilla, now into the northern portions of the city of Waxahachie. We do note this thunderstorm is showing an area of low-level rotation, but currently not strong enough to be considered tornadic or a concern for tornadic mischief. Second supercell thunderstorm. Oh, by the way, this storm's moving southeast at about 20 miles an hour towards Bardwell, Ennis, Rice, Emhouse. Second supercell thunderstorm over Van Zandt County, approaching the city of Canton, is currently capable of producing golf ball to tennis ball size hail and is showing increasing indications of low-level rotation. Specifically, the low-level rotation near Myrtle Springs is approaching the city of Canton. So if you're in the city of Canton, you need to enact your tornado safety precautions. If you're in a sturdy site belt structure, that means you need to go to the lowest floor, center room, away from windows, put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. Grab some hard sole shoes and a helmet just in case you end up having to walk on any sort of broken glass or we have any sort of flying debris going around. Hopefully we won't. But given the fact we do have a tornado warning in place, that definitely means we need to be mindful of those aspects and elements. So again, we've got a tornado warning for Van Zandt County. This does include the city of Canton, Van, Ben Wheeler, Tundra, Redland, and this tornado warning goes until 6:15 p.m. This tornado warning does not include Highway 80, does not include Grand Saline, Fruitvale, or Edgewood. However, the potential for large hail does definitely have the potential of producing hail in those communities. So we do have two supercell thunderstorms. One currently approaching the city of Canton, the possibility of a tornado increasing, along with the potential for golf ball to tennis ball size hail. Number two, it's going to be with the potential for, well, tennis ball size hail. This storm, moving east-southeast at 30 miles an hour, generally speaking, could pose a direct threat to Smith County, including Lindale and the city of Tyler, White House, Noonday, New Chapel Hill, within the next 1 hour. Those of you from Lindale to the city of Tyler to White House need to be mindful of this dangerous thunderstorm to your west. It is producing up to tennis ball size hail. If it continues intensifying, the hail may go up from there. In addition, this storm is showing increasing indications of strong low-level rotation, which does currently have the potential to put a tornado down approaching the west sides of the city of Canton. Dangerous supercell number two, currently bringing the potential up to golf ball size hail to the city of Waxahachie, east of Palmer, Garrett, approaching Ennis on Interstate 45. This thunderstorm is also showing indications of some low-level rotation, although weaker than the storm approaching Canton at this point. Given the fact that these storms are in proximity of an outflow boundary left over from this morning's thunderstorms, we have extreme thermodynamics in place with absolutely incredible amounts of moisture. The atmosphere is a ticking time bomb in terms of instability. These storms easily capable of dropping giant hail and exceeding 60 to 65,000 feet in height. These storms are likely to be with us for several hours yet. So, that being said, those of you downstream from these storms, Lindale, Tyler, Ennis, Bardwell, Corsicana, Currens, be mindful that you have dangerous supercells to your northwest. They are moving east-southeast at about 20 miles an hour. They are currently capable of producing golf ball size hail. The potential, if they intensify, would easily exist that they could produce baseball to softball size hail at some point in their life cycle. The potential currently exists for a tornado to develop from a strong low-level circulation approaching the city of Canton from the northwest. At this point, circulation would likely be near or just southwest of Highway 64 and Interstate 20, moving southeast at about 20 to 30 miles an hour. That means those of you in the city of Canton need to be taking shelter. It's going to be lowest floor, center room, away from windows. Put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. These storms are currently 60 to 65,000 feet tall. A commercial airliner flies between 30 and 41,000 feet. Business jets can go up to about 45,000 feet. And of course, your military fighter jets, some of them at least can go up to flight level 600 or 60,000 feet. But again, these storms are about 65,000 feet, about as tall as you'll ever see here in our neck of the woods. So those of you in the city of Canton, you need to be in a safe place with a tornado warning in effect. Lowest floor, center room, away from windows. Put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. Hard-soled tennis shoes and a bicycle helmet certainly wouldn't be the worst idea. This thunderstorm, generally speaking, is riding down Highway 64 after Canton. This could be a threat to Ben Wheeler on Highway 64, perhaps eventually Redland. At this juncture, this does have the potential to directly impact portions of western Smith County, perhaps say from Brownsboro to Chandler to the city of Tyler within the next 1 hour, which would place it at 6:45 p.m. This is a situation where this storm may be with us for a while yet. Currently have a report with our western supercell of golf ball size hail falling in downtown Waxahachie. So again, those of you in Waxahachie to Ennis, the potential for golf ball size hail at least over the next several minutes. This storm in Ellis County moving southeast at about 30 miles an hour could bring potential for large damaging hail to places like Bardwell, Ennis, Garrett over the next 30 minutes as it moves east-southeast at 30 miles per hour. That is supercell number 1. Supercell number 2 over Van Zandt County. The potential for golf ball to tennis ball size hail now north of Interstate 20. South of Fruitvale, southwest of Grand Saline, approaching Van. The potential for a circulation to drop a tornado approaching the city of Canton. This storm moving east-southeast at 30 miles an hour, generally speaking, towards Smith County. This could pose a direct threat to Lindale, to the city of Tyler, by 6:30 p.m. Those of you in Smith County, Lindale to Tyler, you need to start getting ready for the potential of a damaging hailstorm and perhaps the potential for spinny doom mischief. This point, I'm just doing a wee bit of go. Okay, so again, those of you in Canton to Van, this includes Interstate 20 between mile markers 518 and 542. You need to be taking your tornado safety precautions. In a sturdy site built structure, that'll be lowest floor, center room, away from windows. Put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. Hard-soled shoes, helmets. We don't want anyone traveling on Interstate 20 right now between Myrtle Springs and let's just say Lindale. Going west of Highway 69 out of Smith County would not be the best idea if you want to keep your vehicle's windows intact from damaging hail. In addition, the potential for a tornado to develop at any time near the city of Canton. Storm number 2 currently producing golf ball size hail in the city of Waxahachie, moving southeast at 20 to 30 miles an hour. This storm is capable of producing perhaps larger than golf ball size hail. This storm will be directly impacting Highway 287 between Waxahachie and Ennis now through the next 20 minutes. Generally speaking, expect hail sizes to increase along Interstate 45 shortly from Palmer to Garrett, and within the next several minutes in the city of Ennis proper. This thunderstorm moving southeast at 20 to 30 miles an hour could bring quite a bit of hail. And again, understand that just like the last several days, if these storms continue intensifying, they're going to start dropping hail a lot bigger than the size of golf balls. Honestly, given the amount of instability, wind shear in place, these things could start dropping out 4 to 5 inch diameter hailstones, softballs, grapefruits, if they become super intense. Right now, that doesn't seem to be the case, but we do anticipate the potential for some nasty size hail with these storms as they continue to develop and mature over the next little while. And again, these are the only storms we're dealing with right now. We've got a left split approaching Emory on Highway 69, moving northeast towards Sulphur Springs and Como. At this point, that storm's behaving itself with maybe some nickel to quarter size hail. And then our two primary storms we're dealing with, one, potential low-level circulation, potential for spinny doom over the city of Canton, moving towards Van. Hail core between I-20 and 80, moving southeast towards Van, Lindale, and eventually Redland, the city of Tyler. Supercell number 2 over Ellis County, now exiting Waxahachie to the east, moving towards Palmer, Garrett, and Ennis, a direct threat to Highway 287 between Interstate 45 and Interstate 35E, likely going to 15 minutes, eventually Alma, Rice, Bardwell. And again, that storm could be producing golf ball size hail, at least at the moment. Yay, golf ball size hail 4 miles southeast Midlothian at 5:33. That makes sense. And let me just press some buttons here. We'll just set this up and we'll show you what's going on in terms of the satellite. You can see how quickly these storms have materialized. Taking care of some housekeeping real quick. All right, so we're dealing with two supercells right now. I'll zoom in so you can take a look. One supercell's developed over Van Zandt County. Second supercell's developed over Ellis County. Both storms moving east-southeast at about 20 to 30 miles an hour in a very, very unstable environment, capable of producing very large to giant hail. These storms, again, both capable of at least golf ball size hail. The potential out of Van Zandt County near Canton of a spin-up tornado. We thank you for your hail reports. You're going to send hail reports. Please include your approximate location, community, and have a way to compare the size of the hail with something, like a tennis ball, golf ball, quarter, a coin, something we can compare the size with compared to just a hand, since all hands are different sizes. And we appreciate the reports. Thank you. All right, so getting back to the super duper awesome blossom. Hey, I can make up weather marketing terms too. High resolution weather radar. We, again, dealing with two relatively pissed off supercells, for the lack of a more meteorological educated term. Supercell number uno is over Van Zandt County, starting to exit Canton to the east. This is generally still moving east-southeast right along Interstate 20 towards the city of Van. If you're at that Love's Travel Plaza there with the little hotel attached to it, off I-20 in Van, you need to take your tornado safety precautions. That'll be the lowest floor, center room, away from windows. Put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. Wouldn't be a bad idea to grab some hard sole shoes and a helmet just in case you have broken glass. You don't want to be stepping on broken glass with bare feet. That's not only a concern Again, my apologies for looking all around. Here in the little weather office, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 monitors on right now, all with various sources of information that allow me to maintain some semblance of situational awareness in the ongoing severe storms, because it is me, myself, and I in this magical little room, along with the air conditioner behind me that you hopefully can't hear, since the noise canceling software I have installed generally does a pretty good job of keeping that at bay. But again, we're dealing with 2 storms right now, and it's entirely possible we may end up having a couple more fire up before sunset and early this evening, but for now we have 2. One over the city, or one just exiting the city of Canton to the east, moving towards Van Lindale. This storm has the potential to produce hen egg-sized hail to tennis ball-sized hail. Storm number 2, we now have multiple reports of hen egg-sized hail that's 2 inches in diameter, larger than the size of a golf balls, in portions of Ellis County, exiting Waxahachie to the east, moving towards the city of Ennis, Alma, Bardwell, Garrett. This storm is also starting to show a little bit more of a low-level rotational signature, so we're going to have to keep an eye on it carefully just in case it does strengthen a bit and they need to put a tornado warning on this. But for now, we have 1 tornado warning, and it's going to be with this thunderstorm in Van Zandt County, and this tornado warning runs through 6:15 p.m. Possible tornado, or at least strong low-level rotation now on the east side of Canton, moving southeast along Interstate 20 towards the city of Van. This thunderstorm is also capable of producing golf ball to tennis ball size hail. Have a report of tennis ball size hail 2 miles south of the city of Waxahachie at 5:45 p.m. So again, these storms are continuing to intensify like I talked about moments ago, and that the hail size could continue to increase with these storms. We were talking about golf balls 10 minutes ago. Now we're talking about tennis balls. If the storms keep intensifying, we could be talking about baseball to softballs by the time we hit 6:15. And again, unfortunately, that's just a name of the game with these storms over the last few days, with a very anomalous upper-level jet stream pattern overhead. Here, I'll show you real quick. A tornado outbreak in portions of Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia this afternoon. Absolutely unheard of in mid-June outside of a landfalling tropical cyclone. So when I say how anomalous this is for this time of year, this is essentially going back to the 1970s. You know, all the weather data we've recorded, you know, the daily weather balloon soundings, the jet stream analysis, in combination with everything else, we haven't seen anything like this in mid-June before, this far southeast in the United States. This is extremely anomalous and unusual and rare. So that's why we've been dealing with our share of severe weather over the last few days, with just multiple rounds of annoying and impactful severe weather. So back to it. 2 severe storms, each capable of producing at this point probably tennis ball size hail. At least 1 over Ellis County, and we note the hook echoes becoming more pronounced with this thunderstorm now southeast of Waxahachie. We're going to have to watch that very carefully. The potential for that to possibly require a tornado warning at some point may be increasing over the next 15 minutes. Dangerous storm number 2 over eastern Van Zandt County, now moving east to the city of Canton. If you're in Canton, I'd give it another 5 minutes, and then you're going to be clear. Those of you in Van, you're going to be under the gun next to Ben Wheeler on Highway 64. As this thunderstorm moves east-southeast at 25-30 miles per hour. And again, we haven't heard of any confirmed reports of tornadoes. We do know there is strong low-level rotation with these storms. And if we can keep it just, you know, strong low-level rotation without any spinny, doom, that is good. Nevertheless, both these storms, Ellis County storm, Van Zandt County storm. Van Zandt County storm moving towards Smith County, Lindale, the city of Tyler over the next hour. Ellis County storm moving towards northern Navarro County, Rice, maybe Corsicana over the next 1 hour. Both of these storms could produce tennis ball to baseball size hail within the next 15 minutes. If they continue intensifying, the potential exists they could begin producing giant hail, baseball to softball size hail, within the next hour. Moving southeast at 20 to 30 miles an hour. And again, these are the only storms we're dealing with. Outside of this, the rest of you across Texas are probably wondering what in the heck I'm talking about. I'll turn surface observations on real quick. We'll see if they'll load. Look, it's hot. It's in the 90s to lower 100s, and it's going to be 10 to 15 degrees hotter by the time we get to the weekend across the state with record heat. And then that record heat's going to stick around for probably a couple weeks, unfortunately. Welcome to summer. So again, we're watching two storms. Storm over Ellis County, starting to become more organized both in hail production and in the potential for a wee bit of low-level rotation. Storm number 2 over eastern Van Zandt County, having a big hail dump right now. Approaching the city of Van, we could see golf ball to tennis ball size hail in Van within the next 10 minutes. We also note, as these storms move southeast at about 20 miles an hour, we're starting to see additional development occur across portions of northwestern Ellis and southern Dallas County. It remains to be seen if these are going to intensify or if they're just being produced on the backside of this intense supercell further southeast. But if they intensify, the potential certainly there for them to also become severe pretty quickly. So again, 2 severe storms, and I'll try to loop this over the last half hour. Both these storms moving southeast at about 20 to 30 miles an hour. The potential for tennis ball to baseball size hail, winds 60 to 70 miles an hour, and the potential is certainly there for these storms to attempt to exhibit strong low-level rotation, and that could at times necessitate tornado warnings, such as the one we have in effect right now for eastern Van Zandt County. The thunderstorm in Ellis County is also starting to exhibit a more pronounced and defined low-level rotational signature with a defined hook echo becoming more evident on the radar. I'll switch back to the high-res version and you'll be able to see that. And you can see this storm in Ellis County is quickly starting to show that hook echo. Now, thunderstorms can show hook echoes on the how hard it's raining mode without them, producing tornadoes. Let's make that abundantly clear. That's why using Doppler radar, the Doppler portion is able to detect and determine wind direction and speed at the radar beam height, in this case probably about 2,500 feet above the ground level. We're able to take a look at the which way the wind is blowing mode now, and you can see that, yes, we do have some rotation being detected. Green moving towards the radar in Burleson, red moving away from the radar in Burleson. Those reds, those winds wrapping around the backside of the circulation, that is your rear flank downdraft, which is creating that hook echo appearance on the how hard it's raining mode. So again, we do have some increasing low-level rotation here in Ellis County. No tornado warning at this time, but again, we're going to have to watch it carefully. In all likelihood, there is a well-defined wall cloud with this storm now. If you were taking a look at it from Bardwell to the northwest, you'd probably see a pretty defined wall cloud. You'd probably be able to even see some cloud-based rotation, both scud, or cloud fragments, being rapidly ingested upwards into the thunderstorm, and perhaps some horizontal rotation, left to right and right to left motion. Trust me, there are storm spotters and storm chasers keeping a very close eye on this thunderstorm, and should the rotation increase, I have no doubt the Weather Service in Fort Worth would end up putting a tornado warning on this. At this point, there is no tornado warning, and that's a good thing. So again, let's take a look at where this storm's going to go over the next hour. Then we're going to take a look at the Van Zandt County storm approaching the city of Van. Again, we're only dealing with 2 severe storms right now, which is good. Ennis, you've probably got some hail right now. This storm moving southeast. Alma, 615, the city of Rice, 625. Bardwell, you may have to deal with this hook echo with maybe some strong winds, maybe some hail within the next 10 to 15 minutes. Should this storm continue on its present course and speed, it could be approaching Highway 31 between Corsicana and Trinidad by 7 p.m. And understand, this storm it may turn right or more to the south-southeast further, and if that occurs, this is going to become more of a threat to M House and the city of Corsicana. Back in the eastern Van Zandt County, where a tornado warning remains in place through 6:15 p.m., this storm moving to the east-southeast at about 25 miles an hour. The city of Van, you have heavy rain, maybe some hail ongoing now. The hail's about to get worse. Worst of the hail may be arriving around 6:10 p.m. This storm could be approaching the northwest sides of the city of Tyler by 7 p.m. Lindale, it's raining. You may see that continue for a good hour with the potential for hail to increase. Over the next 30 minutes as the storm continues to progress to the southeast. And again, at this point, we have no reports of tornadoes with either the Van Zandt storm moving towards Smith County or the Ellis County storm moving towards Navarro County. And understand, what we're dealing with today is a very favorable environment for very large to giant hail production, as we have been for the last several days. We have a bit of low-level wind shear. It is not strong low-level wind shear, but that is being partially offset by the extreme amounts of instability and thermodynamics in place. That instability is acting to essentially enhance the upward vorticity speed and the velocity speed of these updrafts, and sometimes, even in the presence of otherwise modest, marginal, unfavorable, low-level conditions for tornado genesis, that stretching or vorticity is able to generate tornadoes occasionally. We also have an outflow boundary in place with these storms generated by the storms this morning, and that can enhance your low-level wind shear and proximity of the boundary. And if these storms are on a boundary, that can really help enhance the potential for problems. And for what it's worth, you can kind of see a boundary here on this radar product. We have a filter in place to get rid of some of the lower reflectivity values. So sometimes you can't see these boundaries as well on this radar display we use for y'all. We have a radar display on another screen that does not use a filtering algorithm, which does result in a lot of ground clutter, but also allows us to see these boundaries more readily on the weather radar product. So this is where there's a boundary. And again, this storm is right on a boundary, which is helping to enhance the low-level wind shear a bit and at least make for a non-zero threat of tornadoes, which is why we're watching it. But for now, biggest story outside of the potential for the occasional spinny, doom mischief is the fact both these storms could be dropping tennis ball to baseball-sized hail as they move southeast at 30 miles an hour. Storm number 1 in eastern Van Zandt County approaching Van. Generally speaking, on a beeline to directly impact the city of Tyler within the next 50 to 60 minutes. Storm number 2 over the city of Ennis, moving southeast, going to impact Rice, Roane, Powell, Currens, Trinidad over the next hour. But if this storm were to take a bit of a trek further south-southeast, it would be a direct threat to the city of Corsicana. Both these storms have wall clouds. Both these storms are rotating aloft. Both these storms are producing a considerable amount of hail, but both storms are struggling to produce strong low-level rotation and, tornado genesis, which is good. That being said, I don't think we have a high tornado threat today. This is not going to be a day where I think we're going to have tornadoes spinning out the wazoo and down for long periods of time. I think if we have tornado issues today, it's going to be more of the brief spin-up variety. That being said, just like we had in portions of Cass County this morning in East Texas, brief tornadoes, especially given the thermodynamic environment, all the instability in place, they could be relatively pissy. So that's why we're going to be paying close attention. A tornado's a tornado, and for the lack of a better description, if you have one coming down your street this afternoon and it happens to be the only one, it's still going to be a real big deal for you. So that's why we want you to take any tornado warnings seriously, just like we want you to take these severe thunderstorm warnings seriously. Some severe storm warnings may just be for, an occasional 55, 60 mile an hour wind gust, maybe some quarter-size hail. These severe thunderstorm warnings are going to be for tennis ball to baseball size hail that could bust your windows and destroy your roofs, and occasionally have wind gusts over 70 miles an hour. So I'm going to do real quick, I'm going to read a mesoscale discussion from the Storm Prediction Center. This is essentially a short-term nowcast update from the Storm Prediction Center over the environmental conditions. It helps us maintain situational awareness, but can also give sort of an idea of what may happen over the next few hours. So some of this may be meteorological mumbo-jumbo. I'll translate in real time, but two supercells have developed across north-central Texas along an outflow boundary. The 1 p.m. Fort Worth weather balloon shows an extremely favorable environment, thermodynamically and kinematically, so instability and wind shear-wise, with over 5,000 joules per kilogram of mixed layer CAPE and 70 knots of effective shear. Well, that's simply saying the atmosphere is a ticking time bomb. This will support very strong supercells with gigantic hail, 4-inch plus diameter size. Eventually, expect sufficient storm mergers, upscale growth for an increasing wind threat across east and northeast Texas. This is supported by the Warn-On forecast system, which has had a wind signal across eastern Texas after 7 p.m. on the last several runs. So what that essentially means is we're expecting these storms to eventually perhaps grow upscale into a small cluster of severe storms, and when that occurs, the threat for destructive winds over 70, maybe 80 miles an hour with wind-driven tennis ball to baseball size hail will increase. And that could be a direct threat to portions of East Texas wherever these storms go. For now, these storms are mainly a big-time hail threat, but the threat for them to also start producing stronger and stronger winds will certainly increase over the next couple of hours as these storms move into East Texas at about 30 miles an hour. Excuse me. So it is now 6:05 p.m. on the 14th of June, 2023. I'm Texas Storm Chasers Baldy-in-Chief David-Reimer, monitoring two intense severe thunderstorms capable of producing destructive to gigantic hail, baseball to softballs. That's over 4 inches in diameter. The potential for damaging straight-line winds and at least a low threat for a tornado or two. We have a tornado warning for another 10 minutes for eastern Van Zant County. Low-level rotation not as strong and organized as it was when they initially issued this tornado warning, so I am not confident we're going to see this extended further to the east. But make no mistake, these are definitely impactful severe storms in regards to the potential for very large hail and an increasing threat with time for damaging straight-line winds. And again, outside of this, there is not much going on. We've got a few showers trying to evolve into thunderstorms in western and southern Dallas counties. We are starting to see cloud-to-ground lightning with these storms. In fact, if I were to quickly add the lightning markers to this, which I always do, and then I end up having to remove them within an hour because usually lightning ends up taking up too much of the screen, but we'll do it real quick just for fun. Give me just a second. Here we go. You can see lightning markers. We've got lightning being generated by these storms now over southern Dallas County and back between Waxahachie and Midlothian. Understand that if these storms around DeSoto and Hutchins keep developing, they could start dropping hail pretty quick. But for now, they're in their incipient development phase. Oh, excuse me. The storm near Van is dropping golf ball to perhaps tennis ball size hail. Same thing goes with this thunderstorm back in southeastern Ellis County. This severe storm capable of producing golf ball to tennis ball size hail over the city of Ennis, moving southeast towards Alma, Rice. Eventually, this is going to become a direct threat to Roane, Currens, Howell, Trinidad. At this point, it looks like it's going to stay just north of the city of Corsicana, but it may end up becoming more of a threat to Corsicana if this storm were to turn right at all. And by turn right, I mean turn to the southeast. South-southeast at least. But the good news is, for now, that doesn't seem to be the case. Boy, we're starting to see pictures of just that hail was a lot bigger than golf balls back in Waxahachie. Let me tell you, a lot of car windows are destroyed in Waxahachie, and that was probably closer to tennis ball to baseball size hail. And again, thank you for the real-time reports. We do appreciate them. It allows us to maintain situational awareness. What I'm doing right now is just trying to pop some chat windows up. Yeah, meteorologist Jason Cooley just described this, and I think he described this week quite amply. It's a hail apocalypse for all intents and purposes. Look, this is probably going to be the worst week of hail we've had in several years across North Texas. I mean, obviously, we've had days and days of just softballs attacking different parts of the Metroplex. Days ago, it was, Flower Mound to Louisville. 2 days ago, it was Burleson to Cedar Hill. Today, now it's Midlothian to Waxahachie. So again, what we're dealing with are, at this point, two severe storms. One near Van, moving towards the city of Tyler. One over Ennis and Alma, moving towards Rice, Roane, Kearns, Trinidad. The storm over Ennis has a history of at least tennis ball sized hail, absolutely shattering windows in Waxahachie. Waxahachie, you're about to get hit by another developing storm, which is just going to make the damage worse if we have heavy rain and flying through windows that have already been broken. Second severe storm over Van now has baseball-sized hail reported. And that, again, is moving into western Smith County, places like Pruitt to Lindale to Redland, Hideaway, passing just northeast of Van Wheeler. Van Wheeler. Passing just north of Ben Wheeler, moving southeast. At 25 miles an hour. And yeah, I guess another way to describe this whole situation is it's May and June. So what we're dealing with, here, I'll turn the radar, this off, I'll turn on the high-res radar, I'll even turn on the super-duper awesome blossom satellite data so you can see what we're dealing with over the last hour. Okay, so two severe storms at this point. One over Van, moving into Smith County, directly towards the city of Tyler, baseball size hail. Second storm over Ennis, capable of golf balls to baseball size hail, moving southeast towards Alma. Baseball size hail now being reported in Van. Storm over Ennis, probably drop tennis ball to baseball size hail in Waxahachie. Both storms, again, baseball size hail at least. Frankly, they may end up being bigger than that, moving southeast at about 20 to 30 miles an hour. And again, you can see that these storms moving southeast, we only have two of them right now, but we are starting to see additional showers and storms trying to go up again over western Ellis County and southern Dallas County. For what it's worth, this storm going up just west of Waxahachie could bring additional heavy rain, and if it continues to develop, honestly, more hail to Waxahachie, which is going to be noteworthy for those dealing with broken windows. So, I guess you have a tarp, go put it over your car windows that they're broken real quick, and don't do it while it's hailing again, if we do end up having hail. So at this point, not really worried so much about tornado warnings as we are about severe hail. Tornado warning for Van Zandt County is going to be allowed to expire, but we're going to stay here through, well, we're going to keep doing live coverage because obviously we're having impactful severe weather. So our policy is typically to do live severe weather coverage for tornado warnings, but given the fact these severe storms are producing significant to destructive hail, we're just going to stay here with y'all and we'll keep covering it. Two severe storms, one over the city of Van, baseball-sized hail reported in the last 5 to 10 minutes in Van, moving southeast along Interstate 20 towards Hideaway, Lindale, and eventually the city of Tyler, Owentown. Storm number 2 over Ennis and Alma, the potential for golf ball to tennis ball size hail, has produced major hail damage in the city of Waxahachie. This storm moving southeast towards Alma and Rice. Eventually a threat to Roan, Powell, Kearns, Trinidad. And again, I'll draw markers on here. Storm number 1, moving towards Tyler. Storm number 2, Ennis, Rice, moving towards Kearns, Powell, Roan, Trinidad. If this storm stays on its present course, it may pass just northeast of Corsicana. If it turns any more to the right or to the south, it will pose a direct threat to the city of Corsicana. And again, all these storms, unfortunately, are producing golf ball to baseball size hail, which is causing quite a bit of hail damage. We have additional storms trying to go up over portions of southern Dallas and Ellis counties. At this time, those storms are behaving themselves, but I want to point out that if they start trying to go nuclear, that they could start dropping at least nickel to quarter size hail pretty quickly. And again, for those of you wondering why we're dealing with all this in mid-June, day after day, essentially just pretend it's May, in that the jet stream is the jet stream is doing things we haven't seen it do in mid-June in 30 to 40 years in regards to it being as strong as it is and where it's located. There's a tornado outbreak ongoing in parts of Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, even the Florida Panhandle. Severe storms they typically get in March are happening in mid-June. So that tells you the jet stream is doing some really weird stuff this week. And again, just like we have dealt with tornadoes the day after Christmas, Mother Nature really does not care what time of year it is. Mother Nature's going to do what Mother Nature's going to do, and sometimes that means we're going to be dealing with, May and June, May and December. So unfortunately, that's what we're dealing with. For what it's worth, real quick, let's look at the state view. I'll show you the severe weather outlook for the rest of today and tonight, real quick. Let me clear off some of these cities so you can actually see the map. And I'm not going to turn the lightning markers off, so if you see lightning markers, I'm sorry, you're just going to have to deal. Here's severe weather outlook for the rest of this evening. Into tonight, you can see, again, we got a tornado outbreak ongoing across portions of Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, even into parts of Florida, where typically we're not dealing with tornadoes in June unless it's from a landfalling tropical storm or hurricane. We've got the potential for isolated to scattered severe storms continuing this evening across portions of northeast Texas, the Arklatex, North Texas, East Texas. Isolated storm or two possible back southwest into the hill country, but nothing there so far. Tomorrow, the potential, unfortunately, for severe storms has increased somewhat significantly. The potential for scattered supercellular thunderstorms tomorrow now across portions of the northeastern Texas panhandle. That does include the potential for a few tornadoes. The potential for supercells and complexes of severe storms across Oklahoma with the threat of a few tornadoes. Softball-size hail, destructive hurricane-force winds over 80 miles an hour. Same thing goes with the potential for scattered severe storms in Texoma, northwest Texas, and western North Texas tomorrow afternoon into tomorrow evening. And then we may have a complex of very intense storms try to cross the Red River tomorrow night to Friday morning across portions of Texoma, northeast Texas. Here's the tornado risk for tomorrow. And again, unfortunately, the potential is there. We could be dealing with a couple of tornadoes with storms tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow night across portions of the northeastern Texas panhandle, western Oklahoma, down into northwest Texas, Texoma, and western North Texas, with the threat of a tornado, perhaps even across portions of northeast Texas, the Arklatex, and East Texas. Obviously, weather models have been garbage the last several days. You know, weather models are useful, and sometimes they're right. But unfortunately, given the, frankly, somewhat... I mean, again, like I said, this week, this weather pattern we're dealing with now is very rare, somewhat unprecedented for mid-June. So weather models have not been handling it all well, and unfortunately, that has resulted in multiple changes to the forecast at multiple times this week. And I was hoping tomorrow we would end up being mostly quiet. You know, it would have been hotter than a hot dog, but you know what, mostly quiet. But unfortunately, it does look like we are going to have that threat for severe storms continue into tomorrow now. And honestly, we may end up having it into Friday. So we're just going to take it day by day. And I think you can tell by the tone of my voice, I'm over it. I am about as happy as someone having to go to the dentist that we keep having to deal with this. But again, if Mother Nature cared what I thought, Mother Nature doesn't care what anyone thinks. So all I'm going to try to do at this point is try to keep folks updated on the near term, and we'll deal with the day-by-day stuff. We'll deal with tomorrow. Until then, we're just going to have to deal with what we have going on now. So, yeah, I'm tired. Anyway, we've got two severe storms. Each have a history of producing golf ball to baseball size hail. One storm located over Van, moving into Smith County Hideaway towards the city of Tyler. Second storm over Alma now, exiting Ennis to the southeast, moving towards Rice, Roan, Powell, Kearns. That storm could have golf ball to tennis ball size hail. We have a couple storms back over western Ellis County. We've got a storm going up now over the city of Waxahachie. That may end up having some dime-size hail with it, unfortunately. Cloud-to-ground lightning, some heavy rain. The storm over Lancaster to Wilmer to Ferris. That may end up having some very small hail with it. Nothing that screams severe weather right now with those. And as of 6:23 p.m., we have no tornado warnings. We have two severe thunderstorms moving east-southeast at 20 to 30 miles an hour. Storm number one, Smith County, just east of Van. We have baseball-sized hail in Van within the last 10 minutes. That storm moving towards portions of Hideaway, Lindale, Tyler, Owentown. Storm number 2, southeast of Ennis. That's produced damaging hail, tennis balls, at least in Waxahachie. We've had golf balls in Ennis. This storm about to bring hail to Alma, Rice, to Roan, moving towards Powell and Kearns. Just had a report from a storm chaser of tennis ball size hail in Alma between Ennis and Rice. So Alma, tennis ball size hail falling, meaning the storm moving into Navarro County could easily still have tennis ball to baseball size hail now. We note that the Ellis County storm, about to be the Navarro County storm, is starting to show more of a low-level hook signature again on radar, and that does have the potential to be a wee bit problematic. Severe thunderstorm warning for Navarro County and western portions. Well, here, I'll just read the text. They've updated it. At 6:22 p.m., a severe thunderstorm was located near Alma, 6 miles southeast of Ennis, moving southeast at 25 miles an hour, capable of baseball-sized hail, 60-mile-an-hour winds. That's going to be setting off your cell phones, by the way, with that spooky alert sound. So again, severe thunderstorm warning for baseball-sized hail, portions of Kaufman, Henderson, Ellis, Navarro counties. This is going to be far southern Kaufman, western portions of Henderson, and mostly Navarro County at this point, far southeastern Ellis County, southeast of Highway 34, moving southeast at 25, 30 miles an hour. Severe storm entering northern Smith County, capable of producing golf ball to tennis ball size hail with a history of baseball size hail in Van. That's going to be impacting Hideaway, Lindale. Likely have very large hail on Interstate 20 right now between Van and the city of Tyler. Storm moving east, southeast at about 30 miles an hour, capable of golf ball to baseball size hail again. A direct threat to the city of Tyler, Owentown, Hideaway, Lindale, with storm number 2 back west in far southeastern Ellis County near Alma, moving towards Rice, M House, Roan, Powell, Kearns, Toole, Trinidad, Gun Barrel City. Eventually, it could impact Eureka. A storm near Corsicana, based on that hook echo starting to pop off a bit further west, may end up being more of a threat to Corsicana if this storm were to turn more to the south-southeast. Jason, let me know if you're listening. Both these storms capable of producing tennis ball to baseball size hail, the potential for wind gusts over 60 miles an hour, heavy rainfall, quite a bit of cloud to ground lightning. Storms back over Waxahachie up into southeastern Dallas County at this point, generally moving off to the east. Not severe and have been relatively steady state. They may be in a slightly more stabilized atmosphere comparatively, thanks to the storm earlier. But nevertheless, both these storms currently in northern Navarro and entering Smith County could produce very large, damaging hail, the potential for tennis ball to baseball size hail. Jason, let me know if you are available to do this for a few minutes here in a bit. If not, totally good. Again, so we've got 2 severe storms, one over I-45 from Alma to Rice, moving southeast towards Roan, Powell, Kearns, Toole, maybe northeast sides of Corsicana. Storm number 2 over Hideaway, moving towards Tyler, Owentown. The potential for both these storms to continue producing destructive hail, localized damaging winds over 60 miles an hour, the potential for very heavy rainfall, and quite a bit of cloud-to-ground lightning. We're also watching 2 storms back over southeastern Dallas County and back into central Ellis County, generally over one over Waxahachie, 2 to Wilmer, and both storms are moving off to the east at about 20 to 25 miles an hour. Just had a report of apple-sized hail in Alma, so that is larger than the size of a baseball. So let me see. And again, for what it's worth, these are the only storms we're dealing with, which is why we're not, talking about anywhere else. I know it's a nice change of pace from where I'm having to shift back from East Texas to the Panhandle, East Texas to the Panhandle. Don't worry, we'll get to do that again tomorrow, but for now, we get to keep the radar in a nice, happy place and simply keep an eye on storms. Go. All right, so real quick, let's see. Let's see. A new mesoscale discussion from the Storm Prediction Center. Let's read that real quick. Looks like we are going to see a new severe weather watch for portions of the northeastern Brazos Valley and East Texas here soon. Raise link. All right. Oh, I see why that's not working because I don't have my OBS real quick. Let me get that set up. Sorry, I'm getting it set up to where Jason can take this for a few minutes, but I have to open some stuff on my end to make sure it's working first because if I don't, bad things happen. Like that sound, for example. All right. And Jason, for you listening, I'm just getting that set up. So again, we have no tornado warnings, but we do have intense severe storms capable and with a history of producing dangerous severe weather. Fortunately, it almost looks like the storm moving into Smith County is weakening a little bit. And if that's the case, hail sizes are going to be coming down, which would be great. But we're going to have to see if that is actually what's happening or not. If I could stop drawing, that'd be great. And yeah, Jason, I see you on Cloudflare. I just have to set up the updated link. I hear you, which is good. I just need to put it on the stream. All right, well, that's ready. So, Jason, just let me know when you're good, and I'll do a countdown and switch over to you. So, again, over the next hour, we're going to be watching at least two severe storms, one entering Smith County that could bring hail to the city of Tyler, one that is near Rice and Alma with a history of producing hail larger than the size of baseballs, moving generally towards Corsicana, Roan, Powell, Currens. Second storm, again, moving towards Tyler. We're also watching a couple of storms that are behaving themselves back in southeastern Dallas County. Okay, Jason. And northern Ellis County. So what we're going to do now is we're going to let meteorologist Jason Cooley take it over for a few minutes. Just got a report of softball-sized hail 2 miles northeast of Waxahachie. Back when this storm was over Waxahachie. So that makes sense, unfortunately. So there's the softball to grapefruit-sized hail report of the day. And again, all right, I will switch it over to Jason in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and I'll be right back. Thank you, Jason. Of storms that are behaving themselves. All right, I will switch it over to Jason in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and I'll be right back. Thank you, Jason.
All right, hey everybody. I'm meteorologist Jason Cooley with Texas Storm Chasers. Just going to make sure that I've got it here. It looks like I do. All right, so we've got it. I am going to do a little bit of coverage for David Reimer, Baldy in Chief. I am sitting at the dinner table. Of course, we have these this tornado warning storm that was near Van and Canton earlier. That tornado warning had expired. Now we're just down to severe thunderstorm warnings, and that does include the city of Tyler, Texas, the city of Lindale, and Winona, Texas. So a pretty large population possibly being affected here by large damaging hail. Lindale had a storm just earlier today with hail, so we're doing that thing again. I was just doing an audio check. Sounds good. We also have this big-time hail core situation now crossing Interstate 45. It kind of rode along that diagonal section of I-45, so I would hate to be on Interstate 45 between Ennis and Rice right now. Seeing the reports out of Waxahachie, we had larger than baseballs here and there. Got a lot of photos and videos from Waxahachie, so this storm is capable of producing 3-inch or larger diameter hailstones. As for this Van to Tyler storm, it could very well do the same thing. It's in the very similar environment here, and it even had tried to produce a tornado. We'll go ahead and make sure that we don't have anything super duper imminent here on velocity. This storm has kind of lost its holy guacamole velocity couplet. Of course, we are seeing some attenuation here from the radar as it's cutting through multiple different storms. Switch over to the Shreveport radar. This might give us a better look. We just don't really see anything that is super duper spooky right now for the rotational aspect of things. Switch to storm relative velocity. And yeah, so the good news for Tyler is the tornado threat has diminished. It has decreased. Might not be zero, but it has definitely decreased. Going back to reflectivity, though, we do note that this thing is perhaps producing some hail still. Although, to say that, over the last couple of scans, we have lost that really meaty reflectivity core. So that could be very good news, again, for Lindale and northern Tyler. Maybe that storm is deciding to lose the battle to some capping and fizzling out. But we'll see. Let's go ahead and change over to our... Nah, I don't want that one. I want a vertically integrated liquid. And this will show us kind of where that hail core is traversing. You know, that hail core was real mean around Canton to Van, Texas. Now it's really kind of fizzled out. So folks near Lindale to Winona, North Tyler, your severe hazards are diminishing by the radar scan. I cannot say the same thing about our storm up here near Rice, Texas. Rice, Texas, probably getting large damaging hail. The I-45 from Ennis to Rice probably just took on some large damaging hail, even some winds. Folks that were traveling on the I-45, hope y'all are good. But yeah, the radar definitely indicates that there was extremely large damaging hail, probably around Ennis to Rice, and unfortunately I might have jinxed it earlier, but Ennis does get hail a lot, and I said earlier today it was looking like another Ennis hail situation later this afternoon and evening, and here we are, 6:37 p.m. on June 14th. It is weird that mid-June we're seeing severe and even tornado-warned thunderstorms in the state of Texas, especially East Texas and North Central Texas. Central Texas just a couple of days ago with their tornado warning near Brady. So it's, as David Reimer said multiple times, it's rather rare and even unprecedented to get such a severe weather situation along these latitudes in the United States. And again, tornado outbreak likely underway, definitely underway. I haven't really checked out east, but Georgia and Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi. We even have, if we want to go way out here, we do have Savannah, Georgia showing up here on tornado warning, just north of Savannah here. This is kind of an extraneous coverage situation here. I'm not really seriously covering it. I'm just taking a gander. This tornado warning is north of Savannah, Georgia, about to cross into southern South Carolina. And just for kicks, going to take a look at velocity, and that thing's really spinning up there. Tornado warning again, crossing the Georgia-South Carolina border north of Savannah. But again, we are Texas Storm Chasers, so our focus will remain, of course, in Texas, as our tornado warnings have expired for this evening. We'll see if we get anything else. If anything, I think it'll be this rice storm here that would spin up, but we have not seen it go all the way to actually become a tornadic storm. Our storm near Smith County, northern Smith County, near Tyler, does appear to be completely evaporating. We'll see if it holds on, but looks like as we get later on in the evening, our magical diurnal heating cycle is definitely on the decrease. So this storm is losing its energy here in northern Smith County. And then this storm, probably our most hazardous one at this moment, 6:40 p.m. And now it's just east of Rice, Texas. It's coming toward y'all in Trinidad, Malakoff, Texas. And this storm will be capable of 2 to 3 inch hail diameters, 2 to 3 inch diameter hail size. And we saw in Waxahachie pictures of baseballs and greater. So, all right. Well, yeah, again, I'm meteorologist Jason Cooley, just filling in a little bit for David Reimer. David Reimer's going to go ahead and take back over. I'll go ahead and give a 5-second countdown. So, all right, David, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All right, thank you, Mr. Cooley, and that was meteorologist Jason Cooley. Thank you for the hottie break and the brownie bake. Brownie bake? How about brownie break? Either way, pretty good brownies. All right, it is 6:41, the 14th of June, 2023. I'm Texas Storm Chasers Building-in-Chief David Reimer. We've been monitoring a couple of severe thunderstorms over the last hour and a half that fired up and started dropping baseballs across portions of Ellis, Van Zant, and the Navarro counties. Some good news, it looks like, over the last several minutes. That storm in Smith County, that thing is weakening extremely quickly. In all likelihood, it's in the process of dissipating, which is good news. It looks like it has run into the cap or lid on the atmosphere, and that cap is squishing the storm. You can see how that storm has gone from holy moly guacamole hail producer to, hey, you know what? Just at this point, the hail size is probably down to maybe quarters, and maybe even lower than that as this storm rapidly weakens and is in the process of honestly dissipating extremely quickly. It's impressive how quickly it's dissipating, to be honest. So in that regard, the severe weather threat for Smith County, including the city of Tyler, has decreased to the point where there's not even a severe thunderstorm warning. So that's good news. If you're in Tyler, y'all did something right, because this storm is donezo. So the threat for, quarter to baseball size hail is done for Lindale, Owentown, Tyler. That severe storm has weakened and is in the process of dissipating. It may still be dropping some small hail, dime to nickel size, but that won't even be there in 10 minutes. It'll just be a shower. Storm entering northern Navarro County. Currently remains capable of also producing, or at least at this point remains capable of producing, golf ball to tennis ball size hail as it moves east-southeast at about 25 miles per hour. And again, this storm also showing some indications of weakening, but it is still intense and severe and capable of at least golf ball size hail as it moves southeast at 25 miles per hour. This thunderstorm will remain northeast of Corsicana and is a threat to Trinidad and Kerens over the next several minutes. The storm moving to the southeast at 25 miles an hour. It'll be crossing Highway 31 around 7:10, at least the worst of the hail. Keep in mind, it's already raining on Highway 31 from near Malakoff back west through Trinidad and Kearns, but the hail core is still a couple miles northwest of Highway 31, moving southeast at 25 miles an hour. And this thunderstorm is producing hail up to the size of golf balls and maybe some strong wind gusts as it moves southeast towards Kearns, Trinidad, and Malakoff. This will stay northeast of Corsicana, so those of you in Corsicana, you'll be able to see it off to your northeast, but it's going to stay to your northeast. Otherwise, we have a couple of showers and a few storms back over southeastern Dallas County, back into Ellis County. Those storms generally behaving themselves with some localized heavy rainfall, cloud-to-ground lightning at times, and maybe some pea to dime-size hail, but otherwise, nothing to write home about with those storms, thankfully. We are going to keep an eye out, though, just in case one of these storms decides to take off and start trying to dump hail, but at this point, the only storm we have dumping hail is this one over northeastern Navarro County, moving towards Kearns, Trinidad, Toole, staying southwest of Gun Barrel City, and remaining northeast of Corsicana. So it is 6:45 p.m. We're starting to calm down, it looks like, after a busy hour and a half. A previously severe storm over northern Smith County, now on Interstate 20 from Lindale to Winona, is rapidly weakening. In fact, there's the latest scan. This thing is dying faster than my hairline did back in my 20s. Let me tell you, that is impressive how quickly that is dying. And then this storm over northeastern Navarro County remains capable of golf ball size hail as it moves to the southeast at 25 to 30 miles an hour. The potential for heavy rainfall, cloud to ground lightning, quite a bit of strong winds possible as well, especially if this thunderstorm is also trying to collapse, in which case it'll probably push out quite a bit of wind. All right, so since we're starting to calm down a bit and we have no big time severe weather underway, what we're going to do is we're going to go back to our radar stream on the Texas Weather Center YouTube channel, and we're going to get working on our evening Texas weather roundup. That'll go over the forecast for tonight and tomorrow into Friday. Now that looks like we're going to be busy again tomorrow and even again on Friday, unfortunately. That forecast has evolved, and it's evolved towards the stormy side, but I mean, what else is new this week? The forecast has been a pain in the butt. I'm certainly not going to praise my performance in that regard. So, again, we're going to be watching. We'll be keeping an eye on things here. And if we need to come back and do more continuous severe weather coverage, we certainly will. Otherwise, please download the free Texas Storm Chasers mobile app. You can keep an eye on the sky with the interactive weather radar in there, local weather forecasts, storm chasing videos, and severe weather coverage when necessary. Otherwise, we'll chat with y'all again in a bit. I'm Texas Storm Chasers Baldy-in-Chief David-Reimer.
All right, hey everybody, 7:04 p.m. on June 14th. Of course, we don't have any tornado warnings right now. We don't even have any severe warnings. It looks like our severe warning that was just in place did get canceled. So, hey, that's good news. And let me check the audio here. All right. We do have more thunderstorms developing up near Terrell, Texas to Kaufman, Texas here. We'll watch those for any further convective organization here. We also have a cell trying to form near Sulphur Springs. But our big issues earlier near Tyler, as well as Ennis to Rice, have quickly evaporated. These storms have just gone from 100 to 0 in no time. So we'll leave the radar and jazz continuing for a little while. However, you won't hear from me or david-reimer unless things start going severe again. But because these thunderstorms are beginning to develop back here behind the initial storms, again, Terrell, Talty, Kaufman, and Sulphur Springs, because those are just now beginning to form and we're still in a severe thunderstorm watch, which is good for another 3 hours, by the way. We'll leave the stream going. It'll just be radar and jazz for a little bit until there is another necessary update from me and David. So, again, just an update as of 7:06 p.m., no more severe thunderstorm warnings in this area, not even any in the state of Texas. Of course, Arkansas, Mississippi, Alabama, Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, much different story. But we'll go back to radar and jazz for as long as need be. We'll continue to monitor these cells developing farther back west and north. Again, Terrell, Talty, Kaufman, and Sulphur Springs. We'll see if those get organized. But again, radar and jazz until me or David have something to say. Till there's maybe a severe thunderstorm again later on today, which I'm pretty sure there will be. So that's why we're keeping the stream running for a little longer, just to make sure we're not going to miss out on anything. So again, back to radar and jazz, folks.